We live in a world where appearances often end up speaking louder than anything else, right? It's crazy how everyone, one way or another, winds up worrying about what other people think. It's no wonder we're drowning in social media with all the filters, the editing, and that constant pressure to act like everything is perfect. Of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a good impression or putting your best foot forward. But the thing is, sometimes that obsession with how we look becomes so overwhelming that we forget the most important part, what's actually going on inside. It honestly feels like there's this pressure, this weight on our shoulders, telling us that if we don't have that perfect image, then we're just not good enough. And I'm not just talking about what we post on social media, I'm talking about our everyday lives. It's that forced smile at work, the outfit we pick out just to look classy, the words we choose just to please people, and the way we act in certain rooms. All of these are just masks we put on, hoping to be liked, accepted, and approved of. The problem is that over time, we spend so much energy on the outside that we forget to look within. We forget that real transformation starts in the heart, that what actually makes a difference in our lives isn't external, but what we carry inside. And honestly, half the time we don't even realize it's happening. We get lost in the little things, the demands of the world, and the constant comparisons, and we end up sidelining what truly matters. How many times have you caught yourself trying to please someone else or doing something just to meet their expectations? It's not exactly rare. We've all been there at some point. But the real question is, how much are we actually allowing ourselves to be authentic? How often are we pushing aside our deepest emotions, feelings, and thoughts just to fit a mold that often has nothing to do with who we are, but everything to do with what society demands from us? I know it might seem complicated, because in a way, the world teaches us that looks are everything, that being seen the right way or meeting certain standards is what's going to bring us happiness and success, and we start to believe it. But is it really worth spending your whole life chasing nothing but other people's approval? Doesn't this relentless hunt for external validation just pull us further away from who we actually are? Now imagine for a second that someone comes up to you, someone who couldn't care less about your looks, your clothes, or the way you talk, but instead truly cares about who you are on the inside. How would that make you feel? Would it make you uncomfortable? I mean, think about it. Someone who isn't interested in the masks you wear and wants to see what's hidden in your core. It sounds like a challenge, doesn't it? Because often, that person might be the last person you'd ever expect to see you that way. And that right there is where real change begins. Because when someone challenges us to look inward, to reflect on who we are, what we feel, and how we react to life, that's when we start to realize that our true strength doesn't come from how we present ourselves to the world, but from how genuine we are with ourselves. No matter how much we try to hide our insecurities or weaknesses behind a facade, what really matters is what's in our hearts. It's what we're nurturing deep down, our intentions, our beliefs, and our values. And it's this inward look that can truly transform us. Because contrary to what many people think, real transformation doesn't happen when we try to be something just to please others. It happens when we allow ourselves to be who we actually are, without the masks, without the fear of being judged. That freedom to be your true self, without worrying about what anyone else thinks, is what's going to bring you real peace and true happiness. What if, instead of worrying so much about appearances, we started focusing on what actually matters, how we're doing on the inside, and how we're taking care of our emotions and our intentions? And I'm not talking about being perfect or having everything under control. I'm talking about being honest with yourself and recognizing the things within you that need work. Because change starts from the inside out. There's no point in trying to hide what's inside behind a facade of perfection. And that's exactly the idea Jesus challenges us to reflect on. True transformation starts in the heart. If we can look inward and change what really matters, everything else follows naturally. Our actions, our relationships, and the way we see ourselves and others. Everything changes. But for that to happen, we need to take an honest look at ourselves, without the masks and without the lies we sometimes tell ourselves. That's the only way we can reach true peace. So at the end of the day, maybe the point isn't how we're presenting ourselves to the world, but how we're dealing with what's going on inside of us. If our motivation, our intentions, and our hearts are aligned with what truly matters, then appearances eventually lose their power. And that right there is where true transformation lives. Now we're going to meditate on a Bible passage where everything we've reflected on so far will make perfect sense. Pay close attention to these words. When Jesus had finished speaking, a Pharisee invited him to eat with him. So he went in and reclined at the table. But the Pharisee was surprised when he noticed that Jesus did not first wash ceremonially before the meal. Then the Lord said to him, "Now then, you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You foolish people, did not the one who made the outside make the inside also? But now, as for what is inside you, be generous to the poor, and everything will be clean for you." Luke chapter 11, verses 37 to 41. This story starts with a Pharisee, a very religious man, inviting Jesus over for dinner. Usually the people we invite into our homes are people we like, people we're close to, right? We even cook our best meal and do everything we can to make them feel welcome, right? So Jesus gets to the Pharisee's house, and check this out. The Pharisee gets bothered because Jesus didn't wash his hands before eating. It might sound like a small thing, but back then, washing your hands wasn't just about hygiene. It was a purification ritual, a religious tradition. They believed that by doing this, they became pure enough to eat. But Jesus simply didn't do it. And the Pharisee just stood there, shocked and kind of annoyed, but without saying a word. But you have to wonder, did Jesus really not know he was supposed to wash his hands before eating? Instead of making excuses or explaining himself, Jesus starts calling out the Pharisee. He says, "You Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of wickedness, you foolish people." I can only imagine the look on the Pharisee's face at that moment. He must have been so embarrassed and completely speechless. Jesus was saying that there's no point in worrying about appearances or the outside while ignoring what's in your heart. He knew the Pharisee was so caught up in following external rules like fasting, the Sabbath, and purification rituals, but didn't actually care about others or the people suffering around him. He just wanted to maintain a facade of holiness. And that's where Jesus gives us today's most important lesson. Faith isn't about following rules or looking good in front of others. True faith starts in the heart. It doesn't do any good to be in church every Sunday or say all the prayers if deep down we aren't changing anything on the inside. I know what Jesus said can sound pretty harsh. Sometimes we think, wow, how could he just come out and confront the Pharisee like that? But what Jesus really wanted was to show us that faith isn't just about checking off external boxes. It's not about doing what everyone expects. It's about changing from the inside out. He's saying, purify your heart first, and then everything else will follow. I'm going to tell you something that you might not like to hear. It's actually very easy to live out a surface-level religion. We go to church, we sing the songs, we say the prayers. But what about our daily lives? What about how we treat others? If someone treats me poorly, how do I respond? How do I treat my family and my friends? You know, a lot of the time we end up living out a faith that's just for show, a superficial kind of religiosity. There are people who do everything by the book. They go to church, they pray, they say they forgive, but deep down, they're just going through the motions. And when that happens, life doesn't change. Love, compassion, and respect for others just get tossed aside. Why do you think so many fights happen? Why are so many marriages falling apart? Often we're so focused on other people's flaws that we forget we're supposed to see Christ in them, even when they offend us. Ask yourself this: how do I treat my spouse? Do I see the image of God in them, even during the tough times? If I saw Christ standing there, would I have done what I did? Would I have said what I said? If I truly believed that every person around me is the image of Christ, maybe I'd be more patient, more loving. Because it's easy to love those who love us, but Jesus tells us to love even those who offend us and mistreat us. I know that's not easy, not at all, but we can't do it on our own. The ability to love like that comes from God. And that's why we need to stay closer to Christ, always seeking more of His presence, whether through the Eucharist or through His Word. Now let me tell you something very real. Most of us have a bit of hypocrisy in us. You might not like hearing that, but at some point we all act that way. No matter how much we try to be perfect, there's always a part of us that's a little hypocritical. And the worst part is that we live out this surface-level faith. In front of others, everything looks fine, but on the inside, we know there's a lot that needs to improve. Let me give you an example of how this works. Think back to the last time you had an argument or a conflict, at home, at work, or with someone in your family. Now, imagine that instead of that person, it was Jesus standing there. What would you have said? What would you have done? If it were Christ right there, would you have reacted the same way? I know we all act on impulse sometimes, but the point is, how are we actually handling it? You've probably noticed that we didn't spend this entire video pushing for likes or subscribes like most channels do. Our main goal here is strictly to share the Word of God and to help strengthen your connection with Him. But now that we've reached the end, if you feel moved in your heart, I'd like to ask for your support. Subscribing and leaving a like really helps this channel find the strength to keep this mission going. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.